If it was a deal breaker, I would have ended it already.
Okay.
I told you I'm very understanding. I'm very receptive. Like if you tell me something that bothers you, I'm open to hearing whatever. It's just about how you address it.
I refuse to lose my happy ever.
Well, hey guys, welcome to Little Blackbird 91. Listen, let's have a real conversation today. I'm putting aside my vendettas to have a real conversation. I want to be able to break the couples down in a very unique way. If you've been following me on this channel for a little while, you know we talk about attachment styles quite a bit. And what I noticed from today's episode was all the intimacy issues and the emotional connectivity issues that I address a lot of times with clients in couples counseling, single counseling, divorce counseling, whatever it is, but we deal with a lot in coaching. Because what I saw from Huda and Chris specifically was what we call, there was a misfiring of communication here, because each of them were triggered in their very own unique way. We saw Chris talking to Huda about he didn't understand why she wanted to kiss him in private but did want to kiss him in public, and I actually understood Huda. Now I understand why he didn't understand her, but what didn't happen was Chris wasn't being honest. Chris wasn't being honest, and then he shut down, which then actually stopped there being a progression and a need to bring conflict resolution. Now, I'm not saying Huda's perfect. In fact, Huda has some work to do. And even in the conversation, Huda's got some issues because she tends to lash out in very small ways, but are very detrimental to the relationship. For instance, when she said to him, you know, you touch me with your dirty hands, the tone, the words, the rhetoric was rude, disrespectful, and it creates emotional disconnection in a relationship over a period of time. But Chris needs to start being honest. This is the second or third time we've seen Chris not be honest, or at least not go through the whole entire way. And he masks it behind I'm very understanding. No, you are failing to conflict resolute. And because of that, in this area here, now we've got this conversation about her kissing, and you're not being really honest about how you're really feeling, and then you shut down, and then you disassociate. And when you disassociate, you actually did say to her that, you know, you're checking out. And I don't know if you understand what checking out means, but I actually agree with Huda. If you say you're checking out, you're kind of saying you're kind of leaving, you're emotionally getting out of the relationship. Okay. Now, of course, Huda too at the same time then threw her toys out the pram by saying, well, if you want to leave, you want to leave. Basically, you want to go. Like, she was trying to get ahead of the devil in a sense, right? So there was something that needs to be talked about them, and I'll go a bit deeper with them too and later on. Our favorite couple, Nicolandria situation, their intimacy issues there. There are major intimacy issues there, and since they're deciding they're gonna pursue this relationship, let's quickly talk about some of the intimacy issues before I go a little bit deeper. You know, with Nick and Alandrea, the two things that I saw with them very interesting. Nick never really fully committed to Sierra. Why? Because Sierra was somebody who he could be sexual with. Because Nick's got problems being emotionally intimate. He likes to get sexual. He likes to get touchy. He likes to grab. He likes to have to be intimate in a sexual way. But he fails to be able to connect. I shouldn't say fail, but there's aspects of his connection where he doesn't connect very well emotionally. And I think this is why, again, once more, Alandrea is going to have the same issue that she had with Taylor, but just in a very unique and different way. Because in this instance, you know, Nick actually shows far more words of affirmation. But you're going to find once you start asking him to commit, once the stakes are raised, you're going to find out that he's also going to do what he did to Sierra, which is that he's going to start disconnecting, which is what we saw with Nick over the course of the season. He started disconnecting. Right? We saw him disassociate. We saw him looking out into the atmosphere when Sierra was talking about outside, and all of a sudden, he doesn't want to talk about outside, and he kind of deflects. That's him not being emotionally connected. And we have to, you know, and we'll go a little bit deeper, because obviously at the very beginning of the season, we saw how he treated Bella Dasha, right? And I'm not even saying that necessarily he treated her bad per se, but the fact of the matter is, the reason why he left Bella Dasha was not because he didn't want her. He left her because she wasn't putting out. Because he refused to connect emotionally, but Sierra was willing to offer her body. That's all I'm going to say. Alandrea, we saw her stay in a relationship with Taylor, with somebody who, I don't care what anybody says, even though I believe he strung her along in some instance, even though I believe he lied, even though I believe that he played her, even though I believe that he didn't fancy her and he dragged her, and I'm not going to lie to you, he did those things. She also, when you are healthfully emotionally connected, when you are healthfully emotionally connected, you can recognize when people don't recognize. you can recognize when people emotionally don't connect with you. One of the things is when you're emotionally connected, you start to pick up on people who are disconnected. So when you need an emotional safe space, when you need someone to talk about their hobbies and their likes, when you need someone to be non-judgmental, when you need someone to be a place where you can talk about your intimate or deep things, when you need someone who's actually paying attention, when you need someone to pay attention to small details, when you need someone to be present, those things Taylor was not doing. We saw those things at times, and I showed you the video as well at the same time, is that I showed that at the time where there was a lot of disconnection from Taylor in terms of his body language. He wouldn't look her in the eyes. He wouldn't look her in the face, right? And so, again, I'm looking at him going, okay, so why does Alandrea stay in that position? Because Alandrea's also turned off. She's emotionally not connected to herself either. And we see that because every time she was kissing in the challenges, but not necessarily kissing outside of it. I think that's a real thing, okay? All right. Now, I want to quickly talk about, obviously, Ace and Shelly. I know we ship them. There's problems there too. I'm going to be honest with you. There's intimacy issues there, and there are major intimacy issues, okay? Now, one of the things that's really interesting about Ace and Shelly is that we know they played a game of, who's going to close it off first. And in the end, they still haven't closed it off. Even though Ace has said he's thinking about it, hasn't done it yet. Why? Because Ace is afraid. Ace has intimacy issues because he's afraid of commitment. He's afraid that when he commits, somebody will hurt him. He's afraid that if he gets into a relationship with a woman, that woman will play him. That woman will become distrusting. That woman will do something to him that will cause him harm or betrayal, right? And he has very much avoidant traits in that respect. How do we know that? Because he's consistently focused on winning. He's focused on how sorry, yeah, he closed it off. Okay, he did. Yes, apologize. He did close it off today. Apologies. My misspeak speaking there, guys. My bad. Sorry, I apologize. Apologize about that. Yes, you're right. He did close it off today. They did close it off today. I mean, we are closed off at the end of the season, but hey ho, let me not say anything. I mean, these two have been chasing each other for the whole entire season. We're now closed off. But thank you for correcting me. Yeah, so on this particular aspect with Ace and Shelly, Ace has continually played this game alongside Shelly too, where they've played cat and mouse. Okay, all right. They've played cat and mouse the whole entire season, and the reason being is because both of them have commitment issues. A lot of them have commitment issues, and so actually, what ends up happening is, I've noticed. I was gonna mention that actually. I was really gonna mention this about the fact that they only do, and even that I have written down in my notes that the peck that he did when I think Taylor had left was so weird. It was so weird. Like it was like, and again, that's intimacy issues. I feel like he's got intimacy issues, like the unwillingness to give himself. The unwillingness to give himself over is what's going to be an issue here. And whether he's triggering Shelly to not be as committed either, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, Shelly also, too, we see her playing games because she ends up in triangles. And those triangles are also an indication of the intimacy issues. Like people that want to be committed don't try to end up in triangles because they want to resolve the issue quickly because it doesn't actually bring the result they want. So they have a target, they want to nail it. So both Ace and Shelly have this intimacy issues, and it's interesting because Ace, we see it in his body language. With Shelly, we see it in the fact that she runs, and then she has multiple suitors, and then she plays a game with her suitors, and then tries to keep them on a string. That's part of the intimacy issues as well. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper on this episode. Of course, we can talk about Amaya and Brian, and let me just say this as well. Amaya and Brian also. Let me just say this: Amaya, stop butting in people's business. I want to say this now, Amaya, do not become the anxious person who's trying to solve everybody's problems. I beg. I need you to stop trying to butt into people's relationships. Stick to your own. Focus on your own. The plan sounded good. Let's leave it alone. Reason why I'm saying that, because you're going to be too focused on other people. Focus on yourself. Okay, like I'm looking from an attachment perspective, and that is such an anxious perspective. See, an anxious person tries to control narratives and wants to bring people together, but doesn't realize they end up becoming controlling. And I'm not even saying that Amaya is controlling. I'm saying that she needs to not get involved. When you want two people to bring together, how you actually mediate, it's not by doing this. This is actually gonna, like, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. By the way, it's not the worst thing. It could have ended up much more worse, right? So when people want people to talk, sometimes just you have to allow them to able to make that process ahead. You can talk to who you need to talk to, right? But just allow them to fix their own thing, because once you start getting involved in people's business, I promise you, it always comes back to you, and it's never gonna make you more better in your relationship, because you end up having to get yourself in situations you don't need to be involved in. That's what I would say about as well. Okay, all right. So, okay, let's get into these breakdowns a little bit more deeper. Let's have a little look at these couples. I want to just go into Ace and Shelly first, because they were quite interesting. I know we've got Huda and thing, which I'll dive deep a little bit, but I want to go with Ace and Shelly first. There was two sides. I wonder if I can get the first part, because the first part was interesting. It was just a body language. Ace and Shelly always seem to have instant body language. Okay, so let me just turn this down so you can see this as well. So you can see the body language as well. Because I feel like Ace has still been doing it up until the season. He's still doing it where he's keeping himself he's just not fully open just yet. And I get it. There's pain there, and there's a lot of people. But the reality of the situation is, if he can't work past that, if he's not willing to grow, he is going to get stuck there. Like, he's going to get stuck there. It's just that simple. Like, if he's not willing to pursue and go forward more, he's going to get stuck there, and that is going to play a role in a relationship where the other person never feels secure and safe, because Ace has always got one foot seemingly out. Let me give you a body language aspect. Look at his body language. Now, it's really important, because I say this because we've had we've had a whole month now. And the same body language, even now, we have the same body language, even till now. You know what I'm saying, Chu? There's no way you're telling me Ace Faith keeps him from being sexual on camera, because a brother was having Huda hoot on his body. You not having sex versus you having sex. Listen, to have a clean, pure mind includes everything. So the fact that he's out here having a Huda bouncing on his chest, on his penis, that's not the reason why he's not having sex on camera. Trust me, that ain't the reason why. Okay, that ain't the reason why. All right, a lot of us just don't want to do certain things on camera. It's understandable, but baby, when you had a girl shining her cheeks on you, you didn't mind then. Okay, but back to the body language. If you watch the body language again, though he's slightly more open, he is. Okay, he's slightly more open. We can see it here, but look at Shelly's body language. Look at Shelly's body language. Whenever you see Shelly and Ace talking, why is it that she's always facing him? But even today, she's slightly still, even though she's facing him, she's slightly got her leg up a little bit, but it'll go down in a second or two. And she's always facing him. Why? Because she's trying to keep the connection, right? And when people are facing that way, they're trying to open themselves up intimately, emotionally to you. But Ace is doing something very interesting, which he's done all season, which is he never faces you. Very rarely does he face you, because that's too intimate. That's too intense. That would require too much of him. And so actually what he does is that he keeps his body this way so that he actually doesn't allow himself to be open to the connection fully. Now, being 22, there is no excuse. We use this 22, like 22 is like a young age. Age is not the reason why he does this. Like, if you talk about 22, people are getting married at 18. So is it now that at 22 you don't know how to? No. Listen, age is not the issue. The issue is it's the way he's behaving. It's not even necessarily a bad thing. It's about growing. He's going to need to grow if he's going to be able to have a trusting relationship. If you're going to have a trusting relationship with him, you're going to need him to open up. He may be a slow burner, but he needs to open up. This body language has been from the very beginning to the very end. We've still got the same kind of body language, which means he's still not fully trusting of Shelly. And he hasn't. And he told us that even by the end of the episode, he tells us this. He doesn't fully trust Shelly. Why do we know that? Because what he ended up saying was, here, he said, obviously, people change outside the villa. And he's not lying. People do. And I'm not going to lie to you. Do I think Shelly will change outside the villa? Yeah. And here's why. Because they actually fully never committed. They fully never really connected in a villa. That's why. So the very thing that he fears, which is that she might change up, outside the villa, it's actually going to be, there's potentially going to be, because they never really committed in the villa in the first place. Had they spent time, growing in the villa, had they spent time actually emotionally trying to connect, had he spent more time opening himself up, becoming more vulnerable, he might have actually trusted that a bit more. But because he hasn't done that, and they've had a lot of games, and they've been trying to outplay each other, do Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Okay. So at that point, what's going to happen is he's not going to be able to open himself up. And so actually, he's going to actually cause the actual thing that he very much fears. Okay? All right? Listen, COVID has got nothing to do with Ace. Like, yo, listen, Ace is a product of his environment, not of COVID, not his age. Like, none of these, this is what we saw. We give people, men and women, we give them such grace. And it's like, this is not the reason why they do what they do. And if you don't challenge people to move from where they are, they'll like, okay, we'll say 22 now. Okay, in a couple of years' time, he's going to be 26. Then he's going to be 30. Okay, he grew up in COVID. COVID is not the reason why he is the way he is. Trust me. Like, if he was that reason why, honestly, I'll tell you, it's because of COVID. COVID is not the reason why. When you hear his background and where he came from, you can see why. I'm not, by calling him out, it's not by not giving him grace. We're still giving him grace. I call out men and women. I've been calling out Alandrea all season long. Ace can take a few more shots. Like, I've been calling Alandrea out. I called Jeremiah. I said Jeremiah's got intimacy issues. I called out Jeremiah. Everybody gets shot. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, this is we have to call it out now, because at the end of the day, a small tree becomes a big tree. And we can say this, we say the same thing when they're kids. They're only just kids. Well, when do they become adults, and when do we call them out? Like, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, if we say, oh, because they're this young, it's like, nah, you need to learn it now. You know what I'm saying to you? Now. Someone asked me, how do we explain Ace talking to Shelly in the beginning like he was a prize and wanting to explore every single bombshell until there was no bombshell left? Now he's enough. I can explain to you. Here's the thing with Ace. Ace is afraid of commitment. He's afraid of being trapped. He's afraid of being in a relationship and then having no power. He's afraid of losing emotional control. This is a very much an avoidant trait. Like, avoidants who grew up in households where they were emotionally neglected struggle with the aspect of losing control of their own emotions. Not yours, but their own. And they also don't like you having emotional instability, because it means your emotional instability affects me. So what Ace actually did, now we've watched all the episodes up until this point. What Ace was doing, now I get why he did the Amaya thing. Because at first I didn't get the Amaya thing. Now I know why he did Amaya. Now I know why he chose Amaya. Now I know also why he was very much triggered by Amaya. So when you look at what Ace was doing in the very beginning, what he wanted to do is that he liked Shelly. He knows he's liked her in the past, and so to stop himself from falling too fast, being too connected, and finding out that he lost control by liking Shelly, he actually created what we call emotional disconnections or emotional distance. The emotional distance was him then choosing everybody else but Shelly. Do you get what I'm saying to you? And then he punished other people for finding their person, because he knew that by them finding their person, it made them strong. And also because Ace is somebody who is a very intelligent person. He wants to win. And he saw that his game plan, also at the same time of him wanting to hop and scotch, would also become a problem. So how did you, and within that space, we had Jeremiah, who didn't want to listen to him. So Ace had already had a plan in his head. He already had a plan in his head, and Jeremiah didn't fit the plan. Austin didn't fit the plan. Anybody who didn't want to go along with what he was saying, didn't fit the plan, was going to get X'd. So for Ace in this particular aspect, like I said, there's intimacy issues there. And we've seen it through the body language, and we've seen it through the actions he took. And now he's still struggling with body language. Still struggling, right? And when we see, even later on, like, if you notice again, it's very difficult for them to have a body language where they're facing each other. So there was another one where, let me see if I can get it for you, where they were sitting down and they're talking about the chain. Okay? They're talking about the chain. It's very interesting, this scene here. When they're talking about the chain. This particular body language here. And I said, wait, once again, if you notice, they're not facing each other. Now, of course, if you only see this once, cool. But we've been seeing it all season long. All season long. All season long. All season long. And the reason why, again, is because they both can't give themselves to each other because they don't trust each other. They don't trust each other. They don't trust that the other person will be there and stay there. They don't trust that. They both believe that the other person is untrustworthy. So you get this body language here. Is this how we saw Clark and Taylor? Did we see Clark and Taylor this way? We never really did. Why? Because they trusted each other. And so at some point, you recognize that actually these two can't actually be intimate emotionally. We get more intimacy issues. We get more intimate issues from we get more intimacy more from Nick and Alandrea. You know, and so we actually starting to see how there are issues with Ace. Ace moves so slow because he's afraid. I've said this before about Alandrea. Ace and Alandrea are like this. They're two the same people. It's just that Ace looks different because he's a man, right? And he has more control. But the reality of the situation is Ace inevitably is saying I'm a slow burn. He's not. He's afraid. It's just that simple. Like I know, like a lot of times we want to hide it and be like, I'm slow. I move slow. I take my time. I want to. Listen, I'm not saying you have to rush things because speed and rushing are two different things. We can have speed, but we don't have to rush. The reality of the situation is him saying it goes slow. It's not slow. It's the fact that you are afraid. Is that you're afraid? That's the reality of the situation. You are afraid. And so the focus became about winning, not about actually the connection. You know? So for me personally, that's what I'm saying. Now, of course, we know Shelly, she was always involved in a love triangle during the early parts of the season. And her way of waging war was to also her way of waging war with Ace was also creating triangles so she can also make sure that Ace would chase. Shelly's a very smart person. She also recognized that she needed to make Ace chase. She wasn't going to chase him. So how's she going to do that? Well, first and foremost, what she's going to do is make sure that she's going to create triangles. That gives her also safety. When you create triangles, when you have several options that you are dealing with, a lot of times people have many options they're dealing with because they themselves are afraid they will give themselves too early, or they feel like they'll lose power if they only have one person. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So the reality of the situation is that with Shelly having many options are not a problem. But when you're not dwindling them down, its reason being is because you have power having multiple options. You don't actually emotionally give yourself to anyone fully. By having multiple options, what it allows you to do is allows you to deposit part of yourself here and a part of yourself there. That's an intimacy issue. Once and again. Right? So that's also another thing there too, right? So just something for Ace and Shelly that I've noticed as well. Again, this is not necessarily about being bad. It's just something I've noticed about their coupling and their relationship. Okay, let's talk about Nicolandria. Okay, quickly as well, because since they're gonna go forward, they're gonna be a couple. We gotta talk about them. You know what I mean? Like, we saw them obviously in the booth, and they had a little kissy. Okay, all right. I was like, oh wow, it's very cute. I can't lie. They do look good together. I like the look. I can't hate on it. I'm not gonna pretend to say they didn't look good in the booth. They look good in the booth. It was sexy. It was hot. It was steaming. It was passionate. So again, I'm not gonna be mad at it. Once more, again, do what you gotta do. And you gotta enjoy yourself. Okay, all right. So I'm not mad at it. At the look of it, because they did look good in that particular space. So let me just get yes, Alandrea and Nick together, so you can actually have a little bit of look at them as well. Okay.
You laugh all the time. Just these last few days with you has been like the highlight of it all. It's far as kissing and cuddling, all that stuff feels so natural.
I call you like my best girlfriend here, but I also do like being like physical with you, if that makes sense. Every like
Now, what's really interesting, again, Nicolandria and Nick are interesting people because I believe they both have intimacy issues. Okay, now let's take Nick all the way back to the beginning. Okay, all the way back to the beginning, and we're going to take Alandrea all the way back to the beginning. This is why we've watched it all the way from the beginning and say that if they are going to be together, these are some of the things that may also be a problem in the future for them. Number one, first and foremost, we know that Nick actually liked Belladasha first, okay? And then when Sierra came in, he liked Sierra, okay? And what we saw with Nick, with Belladasha and Sierra was that with Belladasha, she was not putting out. Belladasha was not pushing out. She said she ain't trying to kiss nobody like that. Rada. And when Sierra came in with that hot energy. Okay, Sierra came in with that hot energy. She came in with her body. She came with her vibes. She came with sexuality. She just came with that vim. And what Nick found was that he wanted to go with Sierra, right? But he still liked Belladasha, and there was an opportunity, I guess, quote unquote, to also kiss her because after she had and this is what happened after she kissed some people in a challenge because she gave up the holy stance of I'm not kissing nobody when she realized she was going to be out the villa, and then once she got into the challenge and the last before she had to go out, she started kissing people in the challenge. Nick was like, "Oh, I'm interested again." Now that should be a problem for you. He's interested again because she was open to kissing. Now, him being open to kissing in that particular space, again, once more, is about Nick's idea of intimacy, physicality. And that's a big thing. When someone's so sexual and someone is so physical and so hands-on, they want always that. The reason being is because they don't communicate very well on an emotional wavelength. And so actually you lead with sex and you move with sex and you communicate with sex. And a lot of times, sex becomes a painkiller for the actual truth of the pain that you're actually feeling. Now, I know that he talked about, his dad, I think, being away or whatever, a lot for work and stuff like that, or whatever. So that might play a part into it. Okay. And so the leading of that aspect of that sexualness, right, is very interesting. So the need for physicality, the touchiness, the kissing, the always. And so we saw that with the Belladasha and Sierra situation. And then we saw him lie. Then we saw him lie to Sierra, and he didn't need to. He could have told Sierra, hey, I did kiss Belladasha. But no, Nick wanted to get his own way. Okay. He wanted to play his game. And then he ended up choosing, obviously, taking Sierra in that space. I mention all of this because I think it's very important. Okay. Because like I said, the whole entire time, the only time we saw them really before this situation happened was we saw them in challenges. Okay. All right, we saw them in challenges, and it's interesting because after we saw them always in challenges, kissing and getting physical, we never saw a pursuit, and I think that's telling. I think that's really telling, and I've said this before that a lot of times when people are saying that they want you, you have to distinguish between I want you versus I want you. You have to distinguish between I like you and I like you. And I said that the way that Nick moves. And the way you're looking at it right now, it's like an office affair. It's like you ain't got no one else but your office partner in the office. So, well, we might as well try it. See what happens. Let's go there, right? And actually, again, for me personally, I do feel like it's that Nick has that intimacy issue when it comes to being more physical than actually being more emotionally driven in that space. Just because of the way he's moved with Sierra and moved with Belladasha as well, and even a little bit with Alandrea. Okay, all right, because the kissing challenge is also physical. Now with Alandrea, the same thing happened, right? And Nick, we saw one last thing. We saw Nick check out with Sierra. Once Sierra said she wanted to start closing it off, what was his first response? After they had sex and she wanted to close it off. What was his first thought? His first thought was to, oh, no, 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 no. He didn't want to lock it off. No, he still wanted to play. He wanted to explore. And I said the reason why is because first and foremost, we haven't been very clear of our objective. We should have told Sierra honestly, hey, babe, I don't want to go down this road of being, I don't want to go down this road because right now, because I'm focused on just, entertain myself, enjoy myself before we had sex. But he already had sex, and now we're trying to have the conversation. And so for Sierra, sex was like, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's lock it down. And in that place, we saw Nick resisting passively aggressively. How? Because his facial expressions, his lack of commitment to outside of the show, the way he termed things and deflected away from actually committing, the way he took so long to commit and waited until Elan came in. And when Elan came in, now he wants to kind of commit it to and then close it off a little bit later on. But really and truly, even when he was closing it off, he didn't feel like he wanted to close it off. Sarah was becoming annoying to him. Okay? Sarah was becoming annoying to him. So for me, that tells me that Nick is always running from when people are going to commit to him. He's always running, right? It seems like he's a runner and a track star, at least in the villa anyway. And then we see, obviously, with Alandrea, beginning of the season, how she got caught up with Taylor, right? Now, first of all, Taylor actually got up and stood up for Sierra and lost. Taylor got up for, are we forgetting that Taylor got up for Sierra and lost? Taylor didn't even have to get up. No, let's really deep it. Taylor didn't even have to get up. He could have just said, let me just continue getting to know Sierra. But decided he wanted to stand for her. He thought he had a strong enough connection. He thought he had a strong enough connection to stand up for Alandrea. No, sorry, for Sierra. That should tell you something. And we saw how Alandrea reacted. Okay? Now, someone made a really good point. Does Nick love the chase? Yes, because he doesn't like emotional availability. He likes emotional unavailability. He likes to chase because so long as you're unavailable, it's fun. Because in the place of unavailability, there's this dance that you do where it's like, do you want me? Do you not want me? It's like, I like the chase because there's no commitment. It's very low stakes. And when you don't want me, sometimes people are chasing people to prove a point to what they never had in their childhood. So sometimes what ends up happening is you're trying to actually rewrite history. Maybe I think he said like his dad, right, was working a lot or whatever, was away a lot, wasn't it? Am I correct? Someone correct me in the chat. If he said his dad or was it mum, one of the two. I think it was his dad, was away a lot, right, for work. So imagine that you have a parent that is always away and you can't actually get their affections you can't get their physical affection on a consistent level. And that tells you that what you experienced from your parent was that whilst they were close, they were still far away. And so you will never actually ever get in the fullness of that parent. So what happens when you get to an adult relationship is that you learn that actually being loved and cared for and actually emotional connection is most safest when I'm chasing. The moment I collect you and I gather you, it's no longer safe because now you have expectations of me, and those expectations I don't know if I can fulfill because I too have the runner spirit in me too. I have it in me. And so now you're thinking about when I finally get you, oh no, I've got you, but maybe not, maybe I didn't want you too much. I don't know if I really wanted you like that. You were more valuable when I was chasing you. The moment I gathered you and I collected you, you became less valuable. The unattainability proved that I'm worthy. Your unattainability it hired my status. Your unavailability actually proved to me once I caught you that I'm somebody of some stature here. I'm special. Because how is it that someone else hasn't caught you, but I've caught you? Right? When you're chasing, you don't have to actually talk about your real needs. When you're chasing, you don't actually have to talk about your real needs. So this is also important as well. Okay. Now, going back to Alandrea, let's be honest. Alandrea was the girls were talking about Huda closing things off. Alandrea closed off Taylor from the very beginning. Now Taylor's still culpable. He has to take accountability. Okay. And so for me personally, I'm looking at the scenario and going, wait, hold on a minute. Alandrea in the beginning with Taylor, after Taylor stood up for another woman. Like, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, Alandrea saw that with Taylor. Why was that not, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, we saw that with Taylor, and then we've heard obviously that Taylor kind of liked Hannah a little bit, but he didn't really do anything with it. You know what I mean? But my point of the matter is it's obvious if you are emotionally connected that Taylor wasn't necessarily feeling you. As much as Taylor was playing the game, Taylor was never emotionally connected. I pointed that out from early in the season. The way that his body language was very similar to Ace. He never really, apart from the very first conversation. I remember the first conversation they had. And I think they were sitting on the mats up the top part of the house, right? They were talking face to face, and they spoke about the kiss that she kissed Ace. That was one of the few times they were facing face to face. After that, even the conversations after that, I remember him sitting, and they were sitting like this, side by side. They weren't sitting face to face. And so actually, that tells me that if your partner consistently sits by you side by side, or doesn't look you in the eye, and you don't have a problem with that, then I have to ask the question, maybe you're also emotionally not as connected as you think you are. You know what I mean? So that aspect is also pertinent, because the reason why Taylor worked for Alandrea is because he never challenged her to emotionally connect on a deeper level. And when I say about that, what I mean by that is this. If someone likes you and they like you and they are coming after you, it forces you to have to engage. And when you engage, you have to engage. Okay, all right. You have to engage on a emotional level. Now, what can be very difficult is that if you can't reciprocate those feelings because maybe you're not there yet, but also if you can't reciprocate those feelings yet because also you don't know how to. Because if you grew up in a household, we know with Alandrea, she grew up in a household where her mom was a single mother and there was a few kids, and more than likely she was parentified. Her needs, has she actually understood what her needs are? Right? Has she recognized what her needs are? If she hasn't recognized what her needs are, then she goes into relationships based on feelings, not on what her actual needs are. And that's the problem. Because she doesn't know her actual needs, what's going to end up happening is you're chasing a feeling, not chasing what you actually need. And when you're chasing feelings, you can get misaligned. So Taylor began to fulfill a feeling. What was that? The comfort of not having to step up emotionally. Because actually, between you and Taylor, we saw there was a dynamic where I felt like she almost, I won't say she was playing mum, but like we saw the immaturity of Taylor when it came to Alandrea. And we actually saw that Alandrea was actually kind of leading the situation with Taylor a lot more. That's why she even had to tell him, you know, you can kiss me if you want to kiss me. Because she actually had to start leading that relationship. And Alandrea feels safest there. She feels safe when she's leading it because actually she can control the relationship pace. But the problem with that is you're not paying attention to the other person responding to you. So that's the difficulty. Again, that goes back to intimacy issue. And that goes to that avoidance. If you've never been allowed to have your needs met from a young person emotionally, it's very hard to understand what you need in a relationship unless you sit down and process what you actually need. And that's very difficult. She spent 5 years in a relationship, and I can guarantee you that even though she gave everything she gave, it was based on how she felt rather than what she actually needed. Because after you come out of a 5-year relationship, what you should have known at the end of that 5 years is actually, what are my needs? The reason why a lot of us don't know our needs, and I included, didn't know what my needs are, was because we never actually paid attention. No, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of you, including myself, don't actually pay attention to what happened in that relationship. You only paid attention to how you felt and not what you actually needed. So when you were moving through that relationship, you moved through it based on how you felt. So when you came out of it, you spoke about how you felt, but you never acknowledged what you actually needed. Why? Because you never paid attention to what you actually needed. Because what should happen is that once that breakup happens, our focus should be immediately, hey, coach, what is it? What do you need? What is it that the next relationship needs to have? What do you actually need from a person? And a lot of us don't know our needs because we coast through relationships and we base it on how you make me feel. The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off of my feet now, baby. Look at the day I'm gone. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so when you coast for a relationship, and you base it on how you feel, right? This will oftentimes deceive you in relationships. This will deceive you in relationships. And a lot of us have been deceived because we actually did not know what we needed. So for this aspect of what I'm saying about Alandrea is that she still doesn't know what she needs. And her struggle of stepping up emotionally and kissing people in challenges, but not necessarily outside, shows us that again. Though she doesn't want to get physical, and I get it, I understand it, because what will happen is a lot of times, I think she mentioned about she's been sexualized in the past a lot by men, and the reason why men was, and listen, if you're someone who gets sexualized a lot, let me tell you something that's happening. If you're somebody that gets sexualized a lot, let me tell you what's also happening. Number one, men are going to over sexualize. So that's not going to stop. But what I will say, the minimalization of it is also also the way that you show up. I'm not saying that you show up, you're somebody who's out here throwing it back and do not. No. Let me be very clear. What I'm talking about is energy. Okay, energy. If you're not connected emotionally, and you are not connected to your needs emotionally, what tends to happen is you chase feelings. One of the most powerful feelings is desire. But when desire is wrapped around sexual energy, we misconstrue that attention with affection. Let me say that for you again one more time, because even me, I was surprised. I knew I was going somewhere, but let me cook a little bit. If you're someone who consistently finds themselves in a space where they see that men or women even, right? Because women can do this too, to men, continually sexualizing you, what you have to recognize is the way you also show up. Okay? And when I say show up, the mindset and the energy you carry, because the mindset affects the energy you're going to carry. And the mindset is if you show up in a place, okay, if you show up in a place where you personally, okay, all right, are not emotionally attached to your needs, but you recognize feeling of being wanted, being desired, which is a human trait. We all want to be desired, and we should all be desired. By the way, please don't choose anybody who doesn't desire you. You want to be desired. Okay, all right. You want to be desired, and in that space of being desired, right, you have to recognize what a desire that's coming from a sexual place and a person who actually genuinely desires you. The difficulty of that is that when you're not in touch with yourself emotionally, you can't you find it very difficult to recognize whether someone's giving you attention and desire based on sex or whether they're doing it based on them actually wanting you, because you don't even know you. And if you don't recognize you and you're not attached to you, then the energy coming to you, you are going to accept it as the same thing. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. They're very much different. So the first thing one has to do is actually reconnect with themselves. Start recognizing parts of themselves. Start being in tune with themselves. Start having a relationship with themselves. Start liking part of themselves. Start exploring parts of themselves. Start spending time with themselves. Stop ignoring. Okay, stop ignoring the parts of you that you've been ignoring, and you've closed that door and said, "I'm not going into that door." You need to go into that door. Trust me. Look, as a person, listen, let me be honest with you. And I've still got some of these traits. You know what I'm saying to you? I'll be honest with you. I still got some of these traits. So I'm working through it as we speak. I'm not perfect. I'll tell you this. Listen, and a lot of people know this because when I'm coaching people, I tell them this. A lot of people have learned a key to attain a level of desire from the opposite sex, but have not obtained a key to acquire the desire that comes from them wanting you as a person. A lot of us have learned through our damaged backgrounds how to attain sexual attention from people, but not necessarily attention that is dependent on that's focused on who we are. let me give you an example. Myself, my own self, right? I spent some years in the wilderness. I was in Egypt, okay? And I was having sex. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm never gonna lie to you. I was out here in the streets. Okay? I was out here in these streets. Now, let me tell you what I was farming from a lot of people: sexual energy. And the reason why I was farming so much sexual energy is because I did not want to deal with my own personal emotional wounds. I didn't want to heal at that point. I was angry. I was hurt. I was bitter. I was unforgiving. I was frustrated. And I didn't even want to deal with those emotions. I didn't even like talking about those emotions. So I can help everybody else, but I just didn't want to look inwardly. I just didn't want to do it. I said, God, I don't want to hear about it. I'm gonna be out in these streets. And so I was searching for a feeling when I should have been searching for healing. I should have been searching for healing, but I was out here getting a feeling. And so what ends up happening, okay, is in this space, what you don't realize is the way that you show up. The way you show up is that you end up moving with a sexual energy. You start moving with a physical energy. You always want things to be physical, and you don't know how to really emotionally connect without there being physicality. So the way that your relationships tend to work is that you have sex and then the relationship's amazing, not the other way around. When you're doing it wrongly, you realize that sex has to be a part of your connection. Do you get what I'm saying to you? And rather than it being physical, rather than you getting emotional and getting into a tune of understanding what you need, what they need, who they are, who are you, you need sex to blend everything together. And that tells us that there's a problem there. So I'm bringing that to understanding, and knowing even the way you dress, the way you move, the way you do your things, you're farming energy from the opposite sex. So it's important to be able to understand these things from a perspective of intimacy as well. So I'll leave that there, and I'll go on to Huda and Chris as well, and I'll break them down as well. So we'll break that down for you guys as well. Okay. Okay. Let's go on this. Okay. So listen, Pepe just wants to have sex, baby. Okay. All right. You know what I'm saying to you? Pepe just wants sex. That's a good point, African. I probably should, actually, to be honest. I probably should. I can't lie to you. You know what I mean? I probably should. No, I don't. Gia, it's not that at all. We know that dark skinned women are beautiful. I've only ever dated dark skinned black women. I want you to understand it's not about that. People can fathom it. People just can also see that Nick is also someone who's been bouncing around as well. So it's not necessarily that, but I hear what you're saying. It's not that at all. We can fathom that she's wanted. We can fathom that she's desired. In fact, she should be desired. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. I don't think anybody's saying that she should be desired, to be honest. Okay, cool. So let's obviously then let's have a look at obviously Chris and Huda and their biggest issue, because baby, they be having this argument which is crazy. Yeah. Chris had that look on. He had that look that everyone else had that day. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. All right.
I ended the conversation and I got up, but I felt as though like I didn't want to keep going in circles. Me doing things with you privately is different than doing things.
Okay, so the issue between Chris and Huda, right? The issue between Chris and Huda. Here's the issue between Chris and Huda. There is actually behaviors that need to be ironed out by both people. They need to be ironed out by both people. and I'll say this in the sense of this conversation here was actually starting off really well, right? But unfortunately, what we see is how Huda's not actually paying attention, first and foremost, until later on.
So like in my mind, it's like, yeah, we're kissing in private areas and we're kissing under the covers. No one's looking at us. That's like more private and intimate to me.
So Huda's actually explaining her reasoning, which is fair, okay, which is fair. But she hasn't clocked that she didn't clock to the end after explaining all she wanted to explain that the brother clocked out. The brother's disassociated. You know what I mean? And he's disassociated. But I actually understood her point. What she was saying was, you know, hey, I've done things the wrong way beforehand, and I want to do things. And what she should be saying is, look, I've done things the wrong way that last time. I want to do things. I'm trying to, and actually, she kind of did say it. She actually kind of said, I want to do things a different way with you because I don't want to have the same result. And actually, I actually understood that. I actually got it. The problem is Chris is not being honest, and he needs to be more honest about how he's feeling. Okay. And so that's an important thing. I'll break it down a bit more.
Just because it's not out in front of everybody doesn't make it any less valuable. And it doesn't mean that I'm embarrassed of you or I'm ashamed of you or anything like that. It's just the steps I'm taking, you know, in my first couple.
And so actually at this point, what's actually happened is that Chris has put intentions on what her behavior is. And I actually get it. Okay. I get why he put intentions on her behavior. And I also get why she also feels the way she does. And what's happening here is that they're not trying to understand each other. They're trying to win. And when you're trying to win, you don't recognize the other person's position. Because this situation, this situation is, okay, I don't want to kiss out in public. So but I'm kissing him in private. What's the solution here? The solution here is to come to an amicable solution, which is like, maybe it can be like, okay, look, I know you're taking it slow in the private aspect. Here's what we can do. Can we slow down the private aspect? Can we focus on our connection outside in public? Let's focus on that first. Maybe we can hold hands. Right? Maybe we can hold hands as a start phase to growing that intimacy in that place. Or rather, he can even wanted to kiss, he could have said, listen, hey, I really desire you and I want you, and I want us to kiss a bit more. Like I said, you got to positively reframe it. Right? So for me personally, again, once more, it's about the way we shape it and the way that we frame it for the person. So either we come up with a medium, which is that, hey, let's hold hands. Okay, let's hold hands. Okay, or let's take sex on the table. Let's focus on building our emotional connection. You know what I'm saying to you? So we can focus on us. Some type of solution needs to happen. Yeah, I honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually understand why she's doing it. It makes total sense to me, if I'm honest with you. And does she like him? I think she does. The reality of the situation is that Huda doesn't know how to have a healthy relationship. So she's trying to do something different and thinks this is going to work. What she doesn't realize is you have to take in everybody's experience, not just your own. But what also needs to happen is that Chris needs to be very honest about the impact of her behavior on him. Chris goes on like he's so understanding when he's not understanding. You're not that understanding. You know? And so actually, he needs to be truthful about what he's implying about her behavior. Because what is the big deal? I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying, what is the big deal? Right? What is the big deal? You then have to make it very clear. For me personally, okay, yes, it feels odd, but also here's my mindset. My mindset is telling me that if you're kissing me, it means that you're embarrassed by me. It means this. It means this. It means this to me. And then what you have to do is then say, okay, here's a solution. Here's a solution that we can start working at. our solution right now, because aren't working at, is okay. Let's start by holding hands. That's why I say to you, like, he's not secure either, because the next thing should be then to work on the solution. You know, since you wanted to stay and be in this relationship, you have to work on it. You know what I'm saying to you?
Even with him, I didn't do it right away, but we still got to the point where we were kissing each other in public and stuff like that, but it moved a lot faster than I want to.
I understand. I'm receptive.
But yeah, I just wanted to hear you. I just wanted you to hear that, and I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
So here, right here at this point, okay, all right, yeah, she wanted. Yes, I'll go to that conversation as well. In this situation, right? What's happening also, okay, in a situation is she's given her point of view, and I want again, I'm not defending Huda. I am giving you how relationships can work and how they need to be solved, okay? Because honestly, I understand where Chris is coming from, but that's not a secure perspective. Okay, it's not a secure perspective. So in this place, we have to have a secure perspective. Now she's told you her story. If you feel like her story has holes in it or anything like that, you've got to ask more questions. That's your next step. When you lie and say I'm receptive and I understand it, when you don't understand it, you're actually not being truthful. You don't understand it. So ask more of the questions. Hey, you know, you've told me about your first relationship and how it didn't work out. Okay, cool. What actually happened? Because obviously, clearly, it's affecting what's happening right now. So that, so I have a different perspective on what's going on. Because you can't empathize with something that you don't actually understand. It's very difficult to. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So if you're going to have a healthy relationship, you're going to have to ask that extra question. And so in that space, when she says, obviously, hey, look, for me, you know, she told him, and you see, and the reason why I'm saying this is because the answer was there. The answer for you is there. Okay, the answer is there for you. So if the answer is, if the person says, listen, hey, I took it really slow with it, you know, I did it really fast with people kissing in public, and I've already said this, that people have intimacy issues when it comes to kissing. Kissing is actually a big thing. I keep telling you guys, look, just like, okay, let me give you an example. People can have sex and will never look at you. It's an intimacy issue. It's like, it's not that they necessarily don't like you. It's an intimacy issue. Some people can have sex, but will never have missionary with you. Why? Because they never want to be connected with you in that way. Some people can have sex with you and only want to have sex from the back because they don't want to ever look at your face because it's too intimate and I don't want to ever commit that way. Some people don't want to kiss because for them, when they kiss, it means so much more for them. It means we're taking that relationship to another level. And I know it sounds weird because it's like, how can you give your body away? Well, that's what I said about people having intimacy issues. You know what I'm saying to you? So in that particular space, sex is not actually a hard thing to do for a lot of people because they don't know how to be emotionally intimate. And so actually a lot of the other behaviors, kissing, holding hands, right? I'll tell you, listen, I remember I had a girlfriend in my early years and we were knacking all the time. I could not hold hands. I could not do it. Don't hold my hand. Don't touch me. Don't do all that lovely stuff. I don't like it. But then I'm knacking you behind the scenes. So why is that? Because of intimacy issues. When you're afraid of actually emotionally connecting with somebody, which is why I'm pointing this out again over and over to these people, like when you lack that emotional connectivity, this is what's going to happen. And so so in that space, if you're going to be committed to this, you're going to have to do the work. Chris has to do the work as well. Chris is, look, Huda, I said this before. People that are unstable and don't know how, people that are unstable like Huda, right? I think she's unstable. Don't get to that. I think she's unstable. But her instability oftentimes will call you out if you're not a secure person. A lot of times when I go on to watch these videos about avoidance and anxious people and all these people, and you'll see people complaining in the conversation, in the comment section, how, you know, I never date an avoidant person. And I'm like, you don't realize that their avoidance is causing you instability, which means that you are not stable. If you were stable, you say, hey, it's not for me, I gotta go. But because you yourself are not stable, their instability is causing you to be unstable too, because you're actually unstable. You thought you were stable, you're not stable. This is something I had to learn. As a dismissive avoidant, becoming more secure, when I started dating somebody who was a fearful avoidant, I said, bruv, what are all these behaviors? The hot, the cold, the lashings out, all of this stuff, and I was getting so vexed, and I started agreeing with the comment section. Yeah, I'm not dating these people. And I realized, you know why you're saying that? Because you yourself are not stable. Their behavior is causing you to be checked out. Their behavior is causing you to, and instead of actually because here's the reason why: you don't have solutions. And because you don't have the resources to solve the issue, you don't know how to resolve the conflict. So what you're doing now, you're checking out like Chris is doing. Chris checking out. Chris acting like he's the only one that was being taught. Chris acting like he's actually being honest all the way. He's not been telling the truth. Just because you yourself are not being, just because you're not saying the absolute truth about how you feel, does not mean you are the better party. I want to let you know that's passive aggressiveness. And I've called Chris out from the very beginning, not because I like Huda. Y'all know I don't like Huda like that. I'm not about to defend her anyway. But the reality situation, I've been calling Chris out because Chris has been passive in the way he deals with things. And I called it out a couple of episodes ago when he asked her, when she said, is there anything I need to work on? That was your time. And you didn't do it. So now you're here checking out. Don't be checking out, bro. Go back there. Go back there. Don't be checking out now when you had the opportunity to say what you need to say. Okay? You had the opportunity to say. And so when you don't say anything, you actually become part of the problem. But let's go back in.
Any thoughts?
Okay. Are you checked out? You checked out?
Okay. I'm just tired of having a conversation and then seeing you walk off and not saying nothing. Just kind of made me feel like a little disrespected.
If this is not
Okay, so at this point here, Huda missed an opportunity too. Okay, at this point here, Huda missed an opportunity because she missed an opportunity to ask a question. So when he said, I'm low-key checking out, her fear got in the way. Her fear got her in the way as well. Because what her next thing should have been like, okay, he said he's low-key checking out. Okay, so, you know, talk to me a bit more. Like, I want to be able to understand this. I know you're checking out. I still want this relationship. It's, you know, do you still want this relationship? Cool. But she went straight to the finisher. She went straight to the, well, you know, if we're not going to be, if it's not something you want to pursue, okay. And it's like, she went to instantly kind of like wanting to throw the relationship away. And he too, being passive aggressive, was also at the same time, say what you mean. So I'm low key checking out. What do you think that's gonna mean for another person? What do you think that's gonna mean? You saying I low key, I'm checking out. What does that mean, Chris? What do you think it's gonna mean? So you're again being passive again once more. What I'm saying about but that was an opportunity for her to then actually also dive in a little bit deeper and ask him a few more questions to find out how he felt. But instead, she got afraid. She was afraid of him abandoning her, afraid of him leaving her. And so she instantly went to, I'm sabotaging it. Well, do you not want me anymore? Okay, cool. All right, if that's what we do, all right, we can be out. You know what I mean? I'm going to be out. And it's like, you know what I'm saying to you? So this exactly. Checking out is you wrapping it up. You know, you're pretty much done. Okay, all right.
something you want to pursue? Okay, we'll leave you alone.
No,
I just asked you. I said,
no one ever said that. Why
I
you
just
keep,
said, are you
why
checked
you,
out? You said low key, yeah.
Yeah, this conversation and talking about it tonight. I'm checked out. You always are so quick to, if you want me to leave you alone, let me know.
There you go. Listen, there you go. He says, listen, you're always so quick. Okay, all right. You're always so quick to want to end it. And of course, because she's got fears of abandonment. Now I'm not here to defend her. I'm just saying to you, this is what happens in relationships all the time. So you may not be as quote unquote toxic as Huda, but there's so many of you ladies or men who do the exact same thing. As soon as you start to feel there's anything about to, and I've done it too, so I'm not even going to be here beating around the bush. You feel it going a certain way. All right, you want to end it? Is that what you're telling me now? You want to be done with it? Rather than going, okay, like where's your head right now? Invite me in so I understand where you're coming from. You said you're low-key checked out. What does that mean? Right? You said you're low-key checked out. What does that actually mean so I can understand where you're coming from? You know? And instead of asking those extra questions, the questions are not being asked. And what's happening is, people are running to end it because you feel a discomfort. And when you feel a discomfort, it's easier to avoid and not solve the conflict than it is to actually sort out something. So we run to, all right, we're done, we're done. Rather than actually asking another question, we run to judgment rather than inquiry. And this is men and women, by the way. And again, we're talking about how to have a healthy relationship. Get out of here, fly. Have a healthy relationship. So you might not be a Huda. You know what I'm saying? You might not have a Huda on your hands, but you've definitely dated someone who's got some of those characteristics where they self-sabotage or they're not sure how to have healthy conflict. And if you don't know how to have healthy conflict, you are part of the problem too. No matter how good you think you are, you know, we all have to learn how to be conflict resolute, you know?
Bro, like, we can work on things. You're not going to be on everything that I mean. I just want to fucking end shit.
So you see how he's saying now, look, he's saying, listen, you don't have to, it's not always have to go to a point of ending a relationship. We can actually work on things. Well, then why don't you say that? No, you're accusing her of running to that point. And I agree with you. She did. So you have to call her out. But brother, did it sound like you were trying to solve the issue? Did it sound like you were trying to solve the issue? The issue here wasn't to win. The issue here was to get understanding and then come up with a solution. We haven't done either. We haven't done either. So I'm not saying that Huda is not at fault here. I'm saying to you, and that's what I'm saying to you. Like this is actually what happened. This is actually what happens in relationships a lot. People think they're better than they actually are. I was one of those people. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought I was. I was like a Chris too. You think you got the moral superiority here. Chris think, and people are looking at Chris saying, yeah, Huda's doing, and they're not recognizing that it takes two. If you're in that relationship, you are also involved. So in that space where Chris is now saying, oh, you know, you always run to this. Yeah, but you didn't, you said you're low-key kind of checked out. We haven't brought a solution and we haven't understood her. Oh, my camera went off. Hold on. Sorry, guys. My camera went off. Damn, I didn't realize my battery was so low. I forgot. Okay. You'll have to come back on. Okay. All right. So this is important. I said this about the men and the women, by the way. So this is not a, defend Huda situation. It's more of a case of just having a real conversation. Sorry, my camera's gonna have to go. I'll bring my other camera on in a second or two. Apologies. So here we go. Okay.
Your thoughts on something you said you had nothing to say.
What else am I supposed to think? Like, I respect the way you move, and also I'm confused because it doesn't make sense to me, and it just won't make sense to me.
Now let's pause right there. What he ended up doing is what I'm saying about he shut down. See, in that particular space, he shut down. He said, what am I supposed to do? You said obviously what you said, and I'm not going to understand. What? No, you're not understanding right now. The understanding here is not about winning. It's not about her coming to your side. The understanding is trying to get to the point of why does she do what she do? And then you've got to be honest about how you actually feel, because you haven't been honest. You have to be really fully honest about, hey, this is making me feel like this. And this will then actually lead to a solution. The reason why we never got to a solution is because you never fully understood. You were trying to win. And when I say win, what I mean by that is not that you were trying to be nasty or anything like that, but the win is that you must see my point of view. And you're not realizing we can see each other's point of view. You get what I'm saying to you? And that's one of the hardest things. That is one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the hardest things to do, right? It's one of the hardest things to do. And so in that space, her saying what she's saying, all right, cool, look, right now I can't do it. Then the conversation should have been at, okay, look, you know what? I know you can't do the kissing thing in public. Let's lead into that then. Can we do a peck on the cheek? Can I do a kiss on the forehead? Can I move this slowly along and help you move that along? This is how your relationship's gonna be solved. Listen, we can talk about Huda and Chris and say they're not married. We can talk about the fact that they're on Love Island. But the problem is, this is your relationship. This is actually how you guys deal with relationships. This is how I deal with relationships in real life. We all do these things. You know what I'm saying to you? We behave like Chris and Huda, and we think that because they're on Love Island, it's not you. No, it's you and it's me. So you have to recognize that it's not a be all and end all. Chris didn't bring a solution. Never did she, actually, planning that. I shouldn't just say her. Never she did. She could have said, hey, look, okay, cool. I can't do the PDA. So let me also say that, can we start off with a kiss on the forehead? She also did not bring a solution. And the reason why, again, is because both of them are so focused on their POV that none of them were actually fully trying to understand each other. I have to be honest, because at a point, Huda could be like, hey, okay, you know what? I know you said that. Let's start off with a kiss on the forehead. I can start there and let's start moving it along slowly. You know what I'm saying to you? Give me time to catch it up. Do you get what I'm saying to you? That's what you do when you are secure, because you recognize that actually it's not be all and end all. And I'm telling you, this is one of the hardest things ever. I struggle with doing this because I wanted to have it all. I get it. It's hard.
Well, I will carry on.
And this behavior by Huda, where it's like, okay, I will carry on, dega, all of this kind of like, feel sorry for me, it needs to stop. Okay, we need you to stop running, Huda, every time things get hard. Now, I'm not saying you can't leave the conversation. You should say there should be a, when you leave that conversation, hey, is it, have we reached a point where we can't talk anymore? If that's the case, listen, let's call it off for here for now. We'll come back and revisit this conversation. That's a safe leave. That's a warm handoff. Okay, that's a warm handoff. So at that point, us to say, okay, that's it, and then I'm gonna walk off again. It's like that's never helping your situation. It makes the other person feel like you don't really care about them whenever you do that thing. That needs to be done. Okay. That needs to be done. I wouldn't say but there is no options though. Like her not kissing him, there is no options. Like they're not going anywhere. There's no other options. You know what I mean? Maybe she would be kissing Pepe. Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe. So this needs to be this. You need to understand a POV. I get it. I'm not saying that I don't understand where people are coming from. I'm just saying to you, there may be a different POV. You know what I mean? There may be a different POV. You know what I mean? But you got to state what you want, state what you need, so that we can actually address the issues appropriately and properly, and state it in that particular way. And so we can actually go for the win. You know what I'm saying to you? Because in the end, what ended up happening was that Chris actually caved in. And that's not going to work long term. Chris actually ended up caving in instead of actually having a real conversation about it, because he was tired of talking about it. But the reality situation was, you never really said the real truth about it.
I really try to understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, I still don't get it. And I don't want to keep on just dwelling on that part and just talking about that, instead of just trying to move forward and focus on other things. So
now that's a what he just said there is a massive problem. It's a massive problem, because what he just said there is basically, don't worry about my needs, we'll just move forward and we'll move on. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That tells me that you don't have experience in conflict resolution, because you've gone to the extreme of, I'm just going to deny my needs. Oh, don't worry about my needs anymore. Forget about it. It's all over. Forget about it. We just need to move forward. No, there are some things there's some things we need to let lie, because it's not part of your needs. It's just like we're disagreeing on something and we're not seeing eye to eye. There are some things, but this is a need. You need to feel like you're wanted, desired, and cared for in public, and you're not seeing that. And you're going to say, well, you know what? Let's stop arguing about it. Let's just move forward. Bruh, you're about to create a monster. I've said this before. If you're not willing to address her, you're going to see yourself undressed at a later point.
It's like me being more intimate with you, like privately, or like under the covers. Is that not enough for you?
it's not about it being enough.
To me, it's more serious kissing in front of other people, like openly,
There you go. Did I not say that? Did I not say that? Have I not been saying that? What she just said? That for her, kissing is more serious in front of people. Did I not say that to you? Now, she hasn't seen my channel. She hasn't seen my channel. Did I not tell you that for kissing for her in front of people is more serious? Like it was for me. As an avoidant, I know it is more serious to kiss people. I know this. I've lived that life. So I know exactly when I say this, it's not crazy to me to say it. I understand it. And for somebody who hasn't experienced it, I can understand why it's crazy, which is why I said ask more questions. You need to ask more questions. If you don't understand it and then you're saying you do understand it, you're lying. Ask more questions. You know what I'm saying, Chu? Hey, maybe you think Huda's capping. I don't know. If you think that Huda's capping, that's up to you. But for me personally, as soon as she said it, I understood it straight away. Because she's hunching. It's not like she's giving you nothing. She is hunching. You know what I mean? In the background, she's still hunching you and kissing you in the bedroom, which means she can kiss you, but she's not kissing you in public. There is no public here. The public is the other people. The public, in essence, you're still hunching on screen. The difference is about how you're viewing the public and how you think that they're going to judge you. So the judgment here is that it's not about that. It's about an intimacy issue. You don't like being that vulnerable, and you were that vulnerable with Jeremiah, and you felt like you lost that situation and were punished for it, and you don't want to do that again. That's an intimacy issue. Very thing I said, it's a fear thing. The very same thing I said about Alandrea. I said the same thing about Nick. It's fear.
Kissing under the covers.
Okay.
And I know you don't understand, but that's my thought process. But
I've already heard you said that yesterday, so I don't know why we're still talking about that. I already understand. Okay.
And he's doing it again. He's shutting it down. Now, don't get twisted. Huda got to be accountable because she told him to get his dirty hands off her. But he's shutting it down again. And you're not going to learn. So Chris may feel like he's a better partner. He's not. You're not trying to learn. You're not trying to learn. Yeah, I get it. The bedrooms are not private, but it's not about the bedrooms being private. It's about the action. They're having sex. They're having sex, which people tend to do a bit more easier. People feel more confident. Just like she's thrown her back on Ace in public. It's much more easier for people to do things in challenges. Just like when Alandrea was kissing people in challenges and not outside of a challenge. Does that make sense? How does it make sense that Alandrea wants to kiss people in challenges but wants to take it slow outside? So you want to tongue people down in a challenge, but then don't do it. That's an intimacy issue. She hasn't lied. She has intimacy issues. She's afraid of being vulnerable. What she hasn't done is explain it to its fullest. She's afraid of being vulnerable. She's afraid of being vulnerable. That's all that's happened. It's the same thing with Alandrea. Otherwise, if we're saying that she's gaslighting, then Alandrea was gaslighting. And Alandrea wasn't gaslighting. All it is that you struggle with intimacy and you need to work through it. Otherwise, you destroy your relationships. Because the reality situation is it's not just you can't kiss in public. There's a reason why. What is the reason? I have intimacy issues. I have intimate issues.
You telling me again, it's not going to make me understand again.
I'm sorry if I made you feel confused or upset you, but I hope that we don't have to argue about it anymore.
I wasn't trying to.
Okay.
I moved on.
Okay.
I know shit ain't going to change. So.
And he said, obviously, ain't going to change. Bro, if you got that mindset already, you ain't going to go nowhere. All right? If you going to go there, with the ain't gonna change, bro. I'm telling you now, you ain't gonna last that relationship very long because that mindset is already getting to a place of contempt, and contempt is one of the four henchmen that will lead you outside of a relationship. Okay, all right. So and that's a big thing. Someone said Alandrea and Huda are behaving exact. I don't think you get it. They are behaving the exact same way. Like Huda is toxic. I'm not going to deny that. But they're acting the same way. If Alandrea can kiss somebody in a challenge and then don't kiss them outside, it's the same issue. It is the same issue. Then they're actually the same when it comes to emotional intimacy. That's why they're on this villa. Look, most people that are on these shows have the same type of energy. That's what Siwe was saying this last time. They have the same energy. So I won't talk about the toxicity. Toxicity is different. We know Huda is toxic. We know Huda's toxic already. Okay, all right. Yes, Seaway said this already. So Seaway and she said this yesterday night, right? We know Huda's toxic already. That's the difference between her and Alandrea. I'm not saying Alandrea's toxic. I'm talking about emotional intimacy issues. They are the same. Ace is the same. Shelly is the same. Chris is slightly showing us that he might be the same, but it's not coming out the same way. They do the same thing. They avoid they actually avoid having intimacy with people, and it leads to this particular behavior. And so what we're trying to do is like we're trying to make it different. Like, okay, so Alandrea's not having sex. That's not the point. That's not the point. Her giving up the cheeks means nothing. Okay, her being guarded is exactly what you're getting from Huda. She's guarded, and she has toxicity with her, but she's guarded. She's toxic, but she's guarded. That's the whole point. That's why you're getting that behavior where someone can kiss and have sex underneath the covers, but not do it in the public. Oh man, come on. Anyway, listen. Let me chill. I have to, you know what? I have to be patient. I have to recognize that, also at the same time, people don't understand. And I have to take my own advice. So I apologize. Here's me getting irate and talking about the very thing. I need to also chill. So listen, let me calm down. Let me woosah. I also understand that some people may not understand it, and I have to be okay. You know what I mean? I take it back. I apologize, guys. I was a little bit irate. I have to calm down. I have to recognize at the same time that you may not understand it just yet. I'm talking from a place where I'm studying the thing and seeing it. So that's why I apologize. Let me calm down. There's no need to get irate. You know what I'm saying? Let me hold my ass accountable. Okay, as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's something I better learn how to have more patience. I need more patience. You know what I'm saying to you? So I will learn that as well, guys. Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, listen, I'll come to the end. Okay. All right. I come to the end. Okay, of this particular breakdown as well. Listen, I appreciate you listening. If you're someone that needs coaching, if you're seeing yourself in Huda, Shelly, Ace, Chris, if you see yourself in these people, right? Alandrea, it's a great time to reach out to me. This is the kind of work that we do in terms of healing and bringing about a more holistic wholeness to you in your relationships as well. Okay, all right. So we want to make sure that you guys begin to heal and have more healthier relationships as well. Okay, so listen, make sure you guys you share, subscribe. You click on that bell button for notifications of uploads, okay, as well. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded, okay. And yeah, that family day gonna be. They might have to cancel the family day. I ain't gonna lie to you. They might have to. You're gonna be tight. I'm gonna say. So I appreciate you guys. Okay, I gotta go. But much love, much appreciation. We'll see you again soon. Tara.